You walk into a crowded room and instantly feel a subtle, invisible shift in the air. Before anyone even speaks a single word, your brain is already working at lightning speed. You already know exactly who is secretly angry, who is deeply anxious, and who is hiding something heavy behind a forced smile. You can read the emotional temperature of the entire room in a matter of seconds. People often tell you that you are just a highly observant person. They call you an old soul, an incredibly empathetic friend, or a brilliant listener. They make it sound like this deep intuition is just a charming, natural personality trait that you were simply born with. But what if your terrifyingly accurate intuition is not just a quirky part of your personality? What if your overwhelming ability to read people is actually the rarest, most misunderstood form of human intelligence? Today, we are going to explore a deeply hidden, fascinating psychological phenomenon known as traumatic intelligence. You are about to discover why your exhausting sensitivity is actually a brilliant biological masterpiece. By the end of this video, you will understand how a painful past quietly built you into a highly advanced thinker. Let's go back to the very beginning, to the specific environment that originally built your complex brain. Most children are fortunate enough to grow up in a relatively predictable, emotionally stable world. When they cry, a caregiver answers. When they are scared, they are gently comforted. Their nervous system learns a very simple, very safe rule. The world is a reliable, secure place. But if you grew up in a highly unpredictable or emotionally unstable environment, your developing brain never learned this rule. It had to completely rewrite its own survival code just to keep you safe. You could not afford the beautiful luxury of just being a carefree, oblivious child. Your physical and emotional safety depended entirely on your ability to quickly analyze the unpredictable adults around you. You learned to carefully study the slight, subtle changes in their footsteps walking down the hall. You learned to decode the exact, dangerous tone of their voice before they even finished a sentence. You became an absolute master at assessing complex social situations in the blink of an eye. Psychology identifies this survival mechanism as highly advanced pattern recognition. Because emotional support was not consistently available to you, you had to develop a fierce, unbreakable independence. You learned to rely entirely on your own mind to solve terrifying problems that no child should ever have to face. In clinical psychology, this fierce, learned independence is known as compensatory self-regulation. You did not just passively survive your difficult childhood. You quietly evolved into a highly skilled, emotional detective. This brings us to a massive, life-changing psychological breakthrough. For decades, society blindly believed that early trauma only created broken, permanently damaged adults. They thought a hard childhood just left you with a tragic lifetime of psychological deficits. But modern science has discovered something absolutely incredible about the resilience of the human mind. Pioneering researchers like Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun spent years studying how people respond to extreme, life-altering stress. They discovered a profoundly powerful phenomenon called post-traumatic growth. Their vast research proves that severe emotional trauma does not just cause permanent psychological harm. In many remarkable cases, it actually fiercely enhances your cognitive and emotional abilities. The chaos of your past forced you to engage much more deeply with the true meaning of life. It forced you to seriously evaluate your personal values and your true priorities long before your peers ever did. You became a notoriously deep thinker and a profoundly deep feeler. You constantly reflect on tiny pieces of conversations that other people immediately forget. You process the emotional weight of the world in stunning, overwhelming high definition. Your unique intelligence is not measured by a simple, standardized math test or a fancy college degree. It is measured by your breathtaking capacity to intuitively understand the dark, complex depths of human nature. But possessing this rare, highly advanced form of intelligence comes with a tremendously heavy price. Your extraordinary abilities are a magnificent gift, but they can also feel like a deeply exhausting burden. Being a human emotional sponge is incredibly draining on your physical body and your nervous system. Your emotional hypersensitivity means you constantly carry the heavy, unspoken pain of everyone sitting in the room with you. You might also notice that you have a very cautious, deeply hesitant approach to deep intimacy and romantic attachment. You often keep people at a very safe, calculated distance, secretly waiting for them to eventually let you down. This is not because you are a cold, unloving, or broken person. It is because your past experiences have painfully taught you that social cues and promises are simply not always reliable. Cognitive psychology describes this heavy protective shield as adaptive skepticism. You question everything and everyone because, once upon a time, trusting the wrong person was deeply unsafe. This brilliant mental strategy keeps you completely protected in the dark, but it can also be incredibly isolating in the light. You might look at people who had normal, safe childhoods and feel a sharp, quiet ache in your chest. You carry a heavy, silent longing for the carefree, joyful days you never actually got to experience. You quietly mourn the massive loss of the innocent, deeply protected child you were always supposed to be. But what if you could actually get that beautiful, missing childhood back? What if the story of your trauma does not have to end with a lifetime of emotional exhaustion? This leads us to a profoundly beautiful, life-changing psychological concept. In the modern therapy world, this is powerfully known as reparenting. You are entirely capable of giving yourself the exact safety, attention, and unconditional love that was missing back then. You do not have to quietly wait for someone else to finally show up and rescue you. You can start by building a deep, unwavering sense of security through calm, predictable daily routines. You can consciously create quiet, safe places in your life where your exhausted nervous system can finally put its heavy weapons down. And you are allowed to do something wonderfully, beautifully radical for yourself. You are allowed to recapture your lost childhood through completely meaningless, deeply joyful activities. You can proudly paint outside the lines, swing on a local swing set, or just eat a massive bowl of ice cream on a random Tuesday afternoon. Society constantly pressures you to optimize every single second of your life for adult success. But you can completely ignore that noise and give yourself permission to just freely exist without a single ounce of self-judgment. You do not need to constantly fix yourself. You are allowed to slowly, gently open your deeply guarded heart to new relationships without constantly scanning the room for hidden danger. For your entire life, you have used your massive intellect to logically understand your own pain. But simply understanding the mechanics of your trauma is no longer enough to heal it. You can consciously choose to treat yourself with radical, gentle love instead of constantly pushing yourself to be stronger and tougher. You can invite a profound, permanent change of perspective into your life right now. Yes, your traumatic intelligence was forged in a past that simply demanded far too much of you. But you are absolutely not defined by the tragedy of your past. The absolute best part of your remarkable story is what you magnificently created from that deep pain. Your breathtaking emotional depth, your quiet, relentless courage to survive, your beautiful, highly tuned senses that allow you to see the world in a way nobody else can.